So, we're in the dining room at La Belle Esplanade, and here's something you didn't know about me. One time, I was a judge in a beauty contest, okay? Now, I'm not gonna go into the whole story, okay? It's clean, don't worry about that, but I'm here to read a story, and I'm reading from Dan Turner, Hollywood Detective, by Robert Leslie Bellum, who's justly famous for his purple prose. And it's a story about a beauty contest, and I was thinking about this one I was a judge in, and I remember Dan Turner, he was a judge in one too. So we're gonna read just about maybe 3 pages it is. It's a 21-page story. Just whet your appetite, okay? Get ready. This is real Shakespeare here. All right. It was a hot afternoon and I was sweating. Oh, the title? Beyond Justice. It was a hot afternoon and I was sweating. The crowd was beginning to get restless and I didn't blame them. They'd come to see a beauty contest and they wanted action. So did I. The judging had already been delayed almost an hour. We were waiting for Ben Birkin. He was late. Ben Birkin was production mogul at Cosmos Features, and this beauty contest was his idea of a publicity gag. It was being held right on the Cosmos lot, and the public was invited. I was one of the 3 beauty contest judges. Imagine me, Dan Turner, Hollywood private dick, in a spot like that. But Ben Birkin, he had asked me to do it as a personal favor. With your reputation as a lady killer, Dan, you'll make a swell judge, he said to me. That's what happened to me, too. Lady killer. All right, anyhow. So I had accepted just for the hell of it. And now here I was on a platform with 2 other judges waiting for the parade of cuties to start. Entrants in the contest were restricted to movie extra girls. The winner was to be awarded a year's contract to play in Cosmos Pictures and a huge silver loving cup donated by Ben Birkin himself. Not only donated by Ben Birkin, but actually made by him. Ben had been a silversmith before he got into the movie racket. That's believable. I was sitting there wishing I could duck out long enough to snag a swig of scotch from my flask when a studio messenger came up to me and whispered in my ear. He said, "You're wanted in the main office, Mr. Turner." Somebody's dead. I guarantee somebody's dead. I followed him, wondering what it was all about. I reached the executive office building. A guy was waiting for me. He was Ben Birkin's assistant, and he looked pale. He said, "Mr. Turner, something terrible has happened. Ben Birkin has been killed in an automobile accident on his way to the studio." I said, "For God's sake." The guy nodded solemnly. Mr. Birkin was taken to the emergency hospital where he died. Told you he'd die. He didn't know he was dying. His last words were that the beauty contest should take place as scheduled. The news of his accident was to be withheld until the prize had been awarded. That was just like Ben Birkin, I thought. His studio came first, no matter what happened. I pulled out my flask and took a deep nip of Vat 69, toasting Ben Birkin's memory. Here's to you, Ben. All right, then I went back to the judging platform on Soundstage B and gave the signal for things to commence. Get ready. Get ready. This is Bellum at his best right now. Right away, a long file of hot numbers started mincing across the huge stage. I've seen a lot of bathing costumes in my time, but the ones worn by these gorgeous dames were just about the most daring I'd ever laid eyes on. Abbreviated silken trunks, crotch high and skin tight, and thin wisps of silken bandeau for brassiers. Whew! There wasn't much left to the imagination, and if I hadn't just been informed of poor Ben Birkin's death, I got a hell of a hoot out of it. As it was, I felt low and depressed. I was anxious to get the whole thing over with. So I took a swift gander at the parading dames, and my eye caught a flashy brunette who stood out over all the others. She was a wow. She had hair as black as midnight, and her dark eyes flashed like 2 shining black stars. Her body was not too thin and not too lush. It was just right. She had hips and she had breasts, feminine without being ostentatious, and her skin was as smooth as creamy ivory. She held a little card with a number 7 on it. I consulted my list and saw that number 7's name was Estrelita Suzanne. She was Spanish, probably. Right alongside the Suzanne cutie was a blonde. She wore too much makeup, but she was damn pretty. That is, if you happen to like generous breasts and somewhat overdeveloped hips, which I don't. Her number was 13, unlucky as hell, and the list gave her name as Wanda Wynn. Seeing her, I remembered a bit of gossip I'd heard it. In my business, it pays to listen to gossip. This blonde Wanda Wynne wench was rumored to be Ben Birkin's flame at a moment. If that was true, I wondered how she'd act when she learned that Ben Birkin was dead. I took a good look at her and then studied the brunette, Estrelita Suzanne, once more. Then I turned to the two other judges and said, my vote goes to number 7, the Spanish Wren. The two mugs looked at each other, exchanging significant glances. Then one of them said, "We're voting for number 13, Wanda Wynne." I shrugged. I was outvoted. I didn't give a damn. So the announcement was made that Wanda Wynne would get the prize. Well, I could see why they wanted Dan to be a judge at that beauty contest. All right, I'm not going to finish this. You can finish it on your own. I forget what it was called. You can just rewind. I forget. So anyhow, that's LaBelleEsplanade.com. Is where you'll find this video if you're not watching it on YouTube. And I suggest that you go to LaBelleEsplanade.com. How do I see through these things? So I suggest you go to LaBelleEsplanade.com. Check out what we got. Read the blog. Number 1 place to stay in New Orleans. Number 3 in the United States. Number 17 place in the world. Trying to work on that world ranking. We'll see what happens next year. But check it out. See what you think. Coming to New Orleans, I got the perfect place for you to stay. All right, a votre santé, mes amis. You have a great New Orleans day, wherever you happen to find yourself. Ciao.